Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to Music and Cigar Podcast. I'm Eddie Roy. On this show, I interview and discuss various rap and R&B soul artists as I delve into reviewing a diverse range of cigars and their brands, even sitting down with other music and cigar connoisseurs. So let's sit down, light a cigar, and discuss music and cigars. Today we'll be discussing music and cigars with a very special guest. He is a professional tobacconist out there in Nampa, Idaho. He's been doing this for 8 years now. He's also been experienced. He has a very uh, great taste in cigars. He also has a pretty good knowledge of what to pair your cigars with. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you and introduce to others, Mr. Zach Malloy. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Eddie.
Yes, sir. So before we start, I wanted to talk to you and ask you what influenced you and how did you get into cigars? How was cigars introduced to you?
So I was it's kind of a long story. When I was in high school, I was one of those little hoodlum kids that I drove 1978 Camaro, and I thought smoking cigarettes looked really cool. So I picked up smoking Marlboros like my grandpa did. And I found out that I didn't really feel that great smoking cigarettes. So while I was still in high school, I went into the local tobacconist shop and picked up a tobacco pipe. Started smoking a tobacco pipe. I did that for about 4 or 5 years. And then while I was doing that, I had worked in a craft beer bottle shop. When I was younger, craft beer was really my passion. And they had a humidor in that bottle shop. And so I got introduced to cigars. I was getting my pipe tobacco from there. And I was kind of big on pipe tobacco, and so I wasn't really interested in cigars for a little while. Moved on from that bottle shop to work at a brewery down the road as a brewer. And so like really getting into this industry, really cut my teeth in craft beer. And then I wasn't getting enough hours at the brewery that I was working at. And the local, it's just low volume of demand for the particular beer that we were brewing at the time of season. And so I was getting maybe like 20 hours a week instead of full time. And I had at that time become a regular at a local cigar lounge where I had been buying different pipe tobacco. And so I went in and I talked to the guy that owned the shop there. I'd had a relationship with him. They basically only served beer and wine at that shop. And I was like, hey, man, I don't know what I'm going to do to pay my bills. I gotta figure something out. And he's like, well, do you want 15 hours a week here? And I was like, well, that sounds like a blast. I mean, I'd sit around, smoke my pipe, I'd drink some beer, talk to people. Yeah, I'd love to try it out. And so as soon as he onboarded me, he was like, well, now you have to start smoking cigars so that you know how to talk to people about what cigars they're going to pick out. And so he started me with a Camacho, Connecticut, and I really did not love it. I thought at the time, because I was smoking a bunch of aromatic pipe tobaccos, really, really rich stuff, I thought that the Connecticut-shaped cigar was a little bit too bland, kind of ashy. But the first cigar that I really, really hit on was a Rocky Patel sun-grown Maduro Lancero. And I smoked that cigar, and I was like, oh, wow, there really is something to this. This cigar is incredible. And like, if I stumbled on this in the first 4 or 5 cigars that I've hit out of this humidor, there's so much more to this than I thought. That was back in 2015, right around the summer of 2015. And it's basically just been go from there. I was hooked. I tried every cigar that we had in that humidor cabinet. The lounge that I'd worked at the time was called Bulldog Pipe and Cigar inside the Silver Lake Mall in Coeur d'Alene. It's owned by a tobacconist by the name of Paul Banducci. Great guy, really fun to work for. Taught me a lot about all of the different tobaccos, regions, doing a lot of fun stuff. And what I brought to the team was I had like a decade of experience in hospitality and retail work prior to working with him. And so we really kind of balanced each other out as a team for the early parts of my career as a tobacconist.
Wow, man. So going back to what you said before, there is a big difference between pipe tobacco and the regular tobacco that we have in cigars. Now, what is the taste? Can you describe the taste in the pipe tobacco just a little bit more so that we can get an understanding of what it is?
Yeah, I mean, so just like with cigars, you have your cigars that are your natural stuff, and you have your cigars that are infused, like your acids or your upsetters, your Asylum 867s, other stuff like that. Just like with cigars, your pipe tobacco has two categories. You have your non-aromatics and your aromatics. Both of them have kind of subcategories, but your aromatic stuff is the infused sweet stuff. It's incredibly popular. It has a great room note. Typically, that's the stuff if I'm around my family during the holidays or something, I'll light up something like that. My favorite for the longest time was for one called Buttered Rum from Sutliff. And it just smells fantastic when you're smoking it. It smells like basically like you lit a scented candle. So I'd go over to my family's place for Thanksgiving, and I'd step out on the porch to smoke a bowl, and I'd have a group of them follow me outside just so they could smell the tobacco smoke. The other side, is non-aromatic tobaccos, where and in the aromatic flavor profile stuff, you have like that buttered rum, you have other alcohol top infused flavors. You have a lot of different like dessert flavors like chocolates, vanillas, or you can have a lot of other fruit flavors like peaches and cream or cherry is super popular. A bunch of other stuff like that. And then on the non-aromatic side of it, you have a bunch of different blends that you can have, like English blends, you can have Balkan blends, you can have Oriental blends. There's a bunch of different subcategories that all are defined by the combination of ingredients that go into them. Like a good example is a lot of English blends will have a strong representation of a leaf called Latakia. Latakia is a type of leaf cured by smoking the leaf in order to give it a very unique flavor that is honestly kind of reminiscent of like the peaty smokiness of a good Scotch. Another popular leaf that it gets used a lot in most non-aromatic blends is burley, which is more commonly known as like your cigarette filler tobacco. So when you smoke a cigarette and you get the flavor of tobacco like that, that's typically mostly burley in that, and that's what gives you kind of that iconic, straightforward tobacco flavor when people think of tobacco as its own individual flavor. And so different blends of all of that. There's Virginias, can be kind of sweet and nutty. Cavendishes are a toasted, cured, very, very dark, usually like pitch black kind of shade of tobacco, and all of these guys get mixed together in different blends to create all the different blends that are out in the marketplace.
That's amazing. You know, just having this conversation alone, I'm already learning a lot more about cigars. I never knew that the difference between there's a big difference between pipe tobacco and the regular tobacco in a cigar. It's almost as if it's a whole nother world, you know?
Yeah. Typically, the tobacco that we get for tobacco pipes and the tobacco that is used for rolling cigars comes from totally different regions in the globe. Places where it's cured can be very different. There's a lot of pipe tobacco that's grown here in the States. There's a lot of pipe tobacco that's grown over in Europe, where all of our cigar tobacco primarily comes from South and Central American countries.
Right. Now, when you say different regions, do you mean like the difference of the tobacco is like Nicaragua, Honduras? Like what regions are you pertaining to? Like what do you mean by that?
Well, Nicaragua in particular is the number one exporter of tobacco in the world. They make some of the highest quality tobacco out there. They have a huge number of factories, a bunch of very, very skilled blenders and rollers, and a lot of the legacy brands that we see and the smaller boutique, more kind of mom and pop brands. They work through a lot of factories out of Nicaragua. From there, we have just other countries of note. We have Ecuador, which is one of my favorites. Mexico produces a lot of tobacco. In fact, the cigar that I'm going to smoke today, part of it that comes out of Mexico. And then we have places like Brazil. The Dominican Republic is another huge producer of tobacco. And then there are a couple of smaller countries that do smaller volumes of production. I want to say Puerto Rico is another one. Costa Rica is another one. Like, just you pick a country between the southern border of the United States and the southern end of Brazil, and they probably have some level of tobacco production.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Now you have a lot of knowledge, Zach, on tobacco. How was the process? Did you have to go through of learning this much about the cigars? I mean, did you have to take a test? I know there's something called the what is the NCTTP? Am I saying? And you have to have, from what I read, you can take the test before the 240 hours of testing, so you can get certified. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I am not what you would refer to as a certified tobacconist. The definition of the word tobacconist is somebody that by trade sells tobacco, or the location, the building, the business itself that sells tobacco. So my job as a tobacconist, I would like to seek further certifications in the future to continue to grow my knowledge base. But all of the knowledge that I have is kind of school of hard knocks, on the job training, having conversations with guys that come in and are looking for cigars that know more than I do. Because frankly, there are a lot of guys out there that know a lot more about this.
There's a whole lot of more people that know something more about tobaccos than I do, man. And you're one of them. I'm just sitting here. It's an honor to have a conversation with you, because you're seasoned. You know, you've been in the game for a long time, like you said, roughly about 8 years of being a tobacconist, and that alone. You do a lot of research and you test a lot. You meet a lot of people, different brands and venues. So that is perfect. What type of cigar are you smoking this morning?
This morning, I've got Apostate Cigars Deseret. Let's see if I can get that closer to the camera for everybody. These guys are, their company is based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. They're formerly Mormons, hence the name Apostate Cigars. And this cigar is a San Andres Mexican wrapper with a Dominican Republic binder, and then a mix of Nicaraguan and Dominican filler. I think I got that right. Brandon, if I didn't, please forgive me. But yeah, these guys make a lot of fantastic cigars. They have kind of the unique blending process in the industry. And then with this guy to pair, because I forgot, in the state of Idaho, before 10 o'clock, I'm not allowed to have the bar opened up, so I can't have any hard alcohol out. So I opted for a beer instead, because beer is acceptable for breakfast in Idaho. So I've got a nice Guinness Nitro here to pair with this San Andres Mexican Maduro wrapper.
Okay. That's good. This morning, I decided to try your Macanudo Espresso Latte cream. And this is probably my second time smoking this cigar. I know it has a barber pole wrapper. I imagine the The binder is Nicaragua, as well as the filler. I want to say it's very sweet. I'm pairing it with a hazelnut coffee. That, as you can see, for some viewers out there that has been looking at the video, you'll see me sipping some of the coffee already before it gets cold. But yeah, that's what I'm pairing it with today, man. I'm gonna go ahead and torch the cigar, and we can get further into this interview, man.
Nice. I'll go ahead and get lit with you.
Now, when you what type of cut are you doing with this cigar?
So I like to use a classic guillotine.
Okay. Is there a particular reason why?
Yeah, it's a nice flat cut. I get a lot of exposure out of the end of the cigar. Helps me just kind of feel like I'm getting a nice even burn on the cigar because the even airflow from one end of the cigar to the other. It comes down to personal preference with cutter choice. I mean, the lounge that I work at here is called the V-Cut Lounge. Obviously, there is a predisposition for using V-Cuts among a lot of my clientele and the owners here. I myself, I just prefer that flat V-Cut. It gives me a great draw.
You know, I totally agree with you. You do get a lot of airflow when you do a guillotine cut. This morning I decided to go with your hole punch, and I've been hole punching for quite some time. For those that can see, the viewers, the reason why I do hole punching is because I don't like the tobacco to come in my mouth, especially when I'm having a conversation. You know, I don't want to, be rude and just be spitting out tobacco. So yeah, I decided to go with the hole punch this morning.
So I always tell guys when they're using a guillotine cut, because you're absolutely right, that tobacco has a tendency to kind of come loose and end up in your mouth. You don't want to get that caught in your teeth. Is if you take the cap of the cigar and you just gently brush over the cap of it with your finger, anything that's loose will kind of grab onto that little bit of friction and bump out of the end of the cigar, so you don't have to deal with that discomfort.
Wow. You learn something new every day. You know, wise man once told me, if you don't learn something new at least every day, you cheated yourself.
That's
and I can honestly tell you, man, from this conversation alone, I've learned so much, in such a short amount of time. And I'm going to go back and review and listen to this all over again, because it's a lot to take in, but it's still a good conversation, man. Really.
Thank you. I'm flattered.
So, another question I wanted to ask you, how is it, everybody that I know that smokes cigars, they tend to listen to music while they smoke cigars. I know me personally, every time I smoke a cigar, man, I tend to throw on some neo soul, some blues, rap, R&B. Can you talk about the artists that you like to listen to while you smoke and enjoy a cigar?
Yeah. So I'm awful with remembering artists' names for music anymore. Because a lot of the time in the lounge atmosphere, what I do is I have a sort of like a whiskey blues playlist that I jump onto on Spotify, and that's what plays in the background of the lounge. So I hear a lot of fantastic blues guitar, and I am awful at naming all of those guys. But what I listen to myself when I'm kicking back, relaxing, enjoying some music is I like to listen to some metal. I like to listen to a little bit of blues. I kind of like Delta blues, and so I used to listen to some it's like Muddy Waters. I've listened to some B.B. King, a little bit of Bill Withers, and then As far as like metal stuff goes, lately there's a band that I think is hilarious. I'm a big fan of like Tolkien and other epic adventure stories, and there's this band that I found out of Norway called Brothers of Metal, and they do metal tracks that are all influenced by Norse mythology. And so that's just really fun for me to listen to. And then to kind of more relax, vibe up, I like a band called The Heavy. They were really big a while back when the video game Borderlands 2 released. They had a song called Short Change Hero that was the trailer track. And they do, it's kind of a really great mashup of like Louisiana jazz. There's some blues influence. There's some soul. Really, really fun band to listen to. And I'd listen to their records on repeat.
That's great. I think it's just so funny, man, how music and cigars just pair well together, just like a cigar and alcohol. Me personally, I listen to BB King, maybe a few rock artists, but not as much as the old schools, like the Spinners, the Isley Brothers, Frankie Beverly and Mays, D'Angelo, Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, Lauryn Hill, and those are some of the people that I listen to as far as R&B wise. Now, rap artists, it would have to be hands down right now. It's an artist out there in Nashville. I want to say Memphis, but I think he's from Tennessee, somewhere in Tennessee. His name is Starlito, and Don Tripp, Rick Ross, J. Cole. I've been following a little bit about the J. Cole, and not the J. Cole, but the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef. I think they squashed it now because it was some shots fired in that beef, man. So I keep my ears to the streets and listen to artists that I think that goes well with that particular mood. When I generally smoke cigars, I could be having a bad day, and I'll smoke a cigar and I'll just mellow out. And depending upon what my mood is, I can start off, just thinking about the past, thinking about what happened that day, or thinking about the future, And when I smoke cigars, no matter if I'm having a good day or a bad day, it's always better after I finish it.
Right.
Always.
That's one of the reasons that I absolutely love these things. I tell my wife I'm a man of simple tastes. I'm happy if I have beer, a cigar, maybe a little bit of bacon. It doesn't take much to satisfy me, and that's one of the reasons that I love being in this industry. It's not like the greatest pay, it's not the most glamorous thing ever, but I get to come to work every day and do something that I love. I get to meet all kinds of cool people. I get to have great conversations, and I get to do like we were saying, think about the past, present, future, have these great conversations about these kinds of things with a lot of the guys that come through the doors of the lounge.
Absolutely. And when I go to a cigar lounge, it's always a pleasant experience. Normally people don't go to cigar lounges to turn up, as you say.
That's right.
But they go to relax, and they have good conversations. You never know who you'll be sitting by in the cigar lounge. You can be sitting by a teacher. You can be sitting by a police officer. You can be sitting by a fireman. You can be sitting by a colonel. I currently reside in Huntsville, Alabama, and there's a lot of retirees here in Huntsville. So we have a base, an army base out here called Redstone Arsenal, and so there's a lot of veterans that go back and go back to the cigar lounge every once in a while and get their smoke on and just chill, relax. maybe watch a game and everything. So I was noticing online how V Cut Cigar Lounge is. I think you all have a great establishment, man. I had to come and visit. Can you talk
Absolutely.
a little bit about the V Cut Cigar Lounge and a little bit about the atmosphere? I know some people. I was looking up. Y'all have specialty drinks as far as cocktails, stout beer, um, different drinks, tequila, alcohol, and of course cigars because it's a cigar lounge. Can you talk a little bit about the atmosphere and where you all are located, so people that are listening maybe can pass by Nampa, Idaho, and visit the cigar lounge?
Absolutely. So first off, V Cut Lounge is located in Nampa, Idaho, as you say. It's in the Treasure Valley, which is in pretty close proximity to Boise. Technically, Nampa is considered a suburb city of Boise. In the lounge here, the lounge has been open since December of 2019. It's owned by Tim and Jen Wengler. They're absolutely fantastic people. They were cigar enthusiasts before they opened the lounge. They'd run a couple of other small businesses before getting into it. And they put together a really fantastic place here. There is a pretty heavy blues kind of influence in the place. And it's just lots of comfortable leather furniture. We've got a big selection of whiskey. It's kind of like our primary feature for drinks. You can kind of see the bar in the background behind me here. On the bottom shelf, basically, that's like all bourbon. And then the next shelf up, I've got a mix of some Canadians and Irish whiskeys. And then on that third shelf up, that's like all Scotch. And then we've got a fourth shelf up top. It's all like top shelf, rare release, kind of stuff like that. We've got a smaller selection of tequila, a little bit of rum, because culturally, south of the border, that's what a lot of cigar blenders, factories, guys that work down there, what they'll drink with cigars. And then as far as our cigar collection, Tim is the one that curates our cigar selection. So we'll talk together a little bit about different cigars, lines, and stuff that he wants to bring in. I'll give him kind of my 2 cents here and there on what I think is really gonna do great. And then that way we can stay on the same page as far as what the humidor is going to look like. And then I have a fantastic community of. It's kind of like down in like what you're saying in Alabama. There's a big military community out here. I have a lot of retired Leos and a lot of retired military that have moved into this area kind of during and post-COVID, where they were looking for places where they could, they could continue to go to ranges and exercise their freedoms and other awesome stuff like that. So I have a big support from that community here in the lounge. And then our cigar selection, we carry a couple of bigger brands. Some have like a legacy titling, like Arturo Fuente. We carry some of them. We carry some My Father cigars, and they've kind of got a foot in each door as far as being legacy. They're an established company. They've been around for a long time. They own their own factories down in Nicaragua. And then they've got kind of a foot in the door of boutique, where they have multiple smaller cigar lines that they don't do as much production. And then we carry a lot of more boutique brands like Black Label Trading Company, Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, a little bit of Room 101. Just a nice, well-rounded variety of cigars that are. Oh, and let's not forget Apostate. These guys are fantastic. Nice big variety of cigars, so that no matter who you are when you walk in that door, if you don't quite know what you're looking for, you can pull me into the humidor with you, and we can have a conversation about what is really going to suit your preferences to find a good cigar for you.
Wow. The experience of a cigar lounge is none other than quite a experiencing surprising experience, because I remember 3.5 years, maybe 4 years ago, I got tired of smoking Black and Milds, and I'm one of the few that can't smoke marijuana, and just me and marijuana don't mesh well. But I was going into a cigar lounge because I wanted to try something new. I got tired of smoking Black and Milds, and I had no idea what I was looking for. All I wanted to do was smoke a cigar. Until this day, I really can't tell you what cigar that was that I tried. I think it was a Romeo y Julieta, Romeo and Juliet cigar. And I think it was maybe the Reserve. That's what I want to say it was. But the experience, typically, I think most tobacconists that work in cigar lounges, if you pretty much know a newbie when you talk to them, because
most of the time they'll just tell me.
Yeah, they'll tell you. They'll say, "Hey, man, I'm new," just like I did. "Hey, man, I'm new to cigars. Can you help me out?" You know, and the tobacconist at the time at the cigar room on 72 in Huntsville, Alabama, they just asked me, you know, what was my favorite profile and notes and all this. And I said, I don't know. I don't know any of that stuff. You know, I was I was like, man, I'm new to it. But the more and more I smoke cigars, they always say you never paint yourself in a corner when it comes down to smoking cigars, because you don't want to cheat your palate from tasting other different types of tobacco.
Absolutely.
Me personally, I tend to like the cedar, nutty, woody type of taste, creamy notes that I like. But my favorite cigar right now, I would have to say hands down, because one of my uncles actually put me on, is the Leaf by Oscar Connecticut. You can pretty much, you can pretty much smoke that cigar any time of the day, morning, noon, evening, and it just I can't tell I couldn't tell you what would pair well with it. Maybe you could, but when I usually just have I can have it with water and and just smoke that cigar. What is your favorite cigar?
So my favorite cigar it's called the La Carême from Crowned Heads. And it is a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper with Dominican filler and binder. That Connecticut broadleaf wrapper on that cigar just makes it smooth, creamy, decadent. I'd say it's about a medium strength. And I get it's like a milk chocolate, almost a chocolate souffle kind of flavor from it. I'm a big fan of like black coffee, dark beer. I love that kind of bittersweet flavor profile. And so that cigar just checks a lot of boxes for me, where it's one I can chain smoke that cigar because it's not terribly strong, but it gives me a lot of rich, complex flavor profile notes that just make it a really enjoyable experience. My favorite size of that cigar is Robusto.
Okay. Okay. That's fantastic, man. Like,
so if you can find one, I definitely recommend trying it. It's great.
Okay, I'm gonna have to see if my local cigar lounge has that cigar. You said the name of it was what again?
It's the Crowned Heads La Carême.
Okay, Crowned Head La Carême.
They make a bunch of other fantastic cigars. But my favorite wrapper leaf is Connecticut broadleaf because of that kind of creamy, chocolatey flavor profile. Another one I enjoy a lot is the Vengeance from Christoph Cigars. Another one is kind of on that medium strength profile. Has a lot of nice, rich, chocolatey notes to it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So how's the cigar that you're burning right now? Because me personally, man, this Macanudo latte, espresso latte cigar, it's pretty good. It's for those that are listening, it's a Barber Pole wrapper, and the binder and filler, I think his name was made from Nicaragua, and it has a sweet coffee note to it. You're definitely gonna taste the cocoa, I guess, or whatever. It's hard to pinpoint what type of tobacco what type of flavor it is. But when you do the cold draw, you do taste some type of cocoa and some type of sweetness, creamy note to it before you light the cigar. But one of the things that I'm having a trouble with this cigar is the burn. I don't know if it's because of the barber pole wrapper. I don't know if that has to do anything to do with it, but can you talk a little bit about what's going on with the cigar when it burns uneven and you have to steady keep lighting it up?
Yeah. So first, a little bit about this cigar. This cigar flavor profile that I get off of this is another one. It's kind of in that vein of kind of coffee notes, kind of chocolate notes, nice, smooth, rich San Andres Maduro wrapper. That's why I paired it with this Guinness, is I get a lot of nice coffee, chocolatey notes from the Guinness. And then as far as the burn on cigars, they're a handmade product. And so that means that somebody sat at a table, rolled that cigar by hand, and it's a totally artisan, organic, handcrafted thing. And so from cigar to cigar, there are a couple of different things that can affect the way that they burn. The first and foremost is construction. When you have a nice even burn on your cigar all the way around, you can have a little bit of sloping, but that's usually a hallmark of good construction. So if you have like running in your cigar, like one side's burning really hot, really fast, that can be either you need to slow down and smoke it a little bit slower so that the cigar has time to smoke the way that it's intended, or the cigar is it's got a minor defect in the roll of it, and you can usually adjust that by taking like a torch lighter or match or soft flame lighter, whichever, and you can touch that cigar up to kind of bring that back to an even smoke. On keeping cigars lit, that's another thing that can come down to either you're not smoking it enough, or there is too much humidification in cigars, so the tobacco leaf is too wet and it doesn't want to light and burn. Or sometimes there's a really, really rich tobacco leaf that is used in a lot of cigars called Ligero. That leaf comes from the very top of the plant, as you can see kind of on this little La Aurora indicator sign behind me. That's really strong and rich tobacco. It has fantastic flavor, but it burns really slowly. And because it has such a high concentration of oils in the tobacco, it can be kind of hard to keep lit in a cigar that has high concentrations of it. So it could be any one of those things. I'm not 100% familiar with the individual blend components of that Macanudo cigar. But if it's a nice espresso rich, a lot of the times they'll use some level of Ligero in the blending of that cigar, and so it could be a reason that it's kind of a tougher cigar to keep lit.
Okay. I never knew that. You're right. Most of them are handmade, or most cigars are handmade, especially premium cigars. And I just think that maybe sometimes we get wrapped up in conversations and the burn starts to burn a little uneven, which is, it's probably our fault. It's probably our fault,
usually is our fault when we're having problems with
the
cigar. Either it's like we're smoking it too fast or not smoking it fast enough.
Yes, sir.
And then as far as like flavor profiles on cigars go, I know I'm in a couple of different cigar groups on Facebook. And I pay attention to what guys talk about when it comes to flavor profiles. And a lot of guys, they sit down and they smoke cigars and they don't get flavor notes out of cigars. They just enjoy them, which is totally fine. I like to, because a lot of guys get overwhelmed when you walk into a humidor and you tell them like, oh, well, this cigar has notes of lemongrass and salted peanut and a little bit of macchiato. They get kind of overwhelmed by all of those. So I like to really strip it down, kind of like a basic template of notes that you get out of a cigar that are really approachable, and then kind of interview guys to help find them cigars that they like based off of their responses to a couple of questions about their palate without bringing cigars into the mix. And so
Gotcha.
questions like, do you prefer chocolate or vanilla? If you like chocolate, do you prefer chocolate or coffee? If you like vanilla, do you prefer like vanilla ice cream or a vanilla cheesecake? And that gives me an idea. Do they like sweeter or richer? Do they like bittersweet? Talking about like your classic tobacco flavor profile notes. Do you like stuff that has like? Do you really like the smell of like cedar smoke? Do you really like hazelnut? Other stuff like that, and that can kind of help me gauge where they fall on what flavor profile they're looking for in the cigar, so I can recommend something they really like. And as far as how I outline cigars, there's only like 5 or 6 big flavor profile notes that I really describe to guys to help them find something that they like. And that's basically like from light to darker flavors. Your vanilla, that cedar smoke, that nuttiness, that chocolate, or that coffee. And that's kind of as simple as I go to really, really streamline it to make it easy for guys to digest and come in and help them pick cigars out that they like. Because those are kind of the most prevalent and common flavor profile notes that are easy to approach in the world of tasting cigars.
Right. Yeah. See, all the notes that you just named, I would say that's my flavor profile. I tend to like notes of cream, coffee, cedar. You'll taste a little bit of pepper, a little spiciness. I like those type of cigars. A really good cigar that I really like that has everything that I like in it, enjoy in it, will be the Ashton Cabinet. That cigar to me is a good cigar because you're going to get the notes of woody note. You're going to get almonds. You're going to get notes of hay, a little bit of spice. It's blended well. That particular cigar is blended well, but it's not a. I guess when it comes down to your palate, you just have to see what tastes good. Tastes good for you because one day you can eat something and drink something and then smoke a cigar and not enjoy that cigar like you did the other day or a week ago or whenever you smoke that cigar. So I guess going back to what I said, you never paint yourself inside of a corner with cigars, especially when it come down to tasting them, because your palate, you're confining your palate into not tasting and experiencing different blends that people work hard to make for us to enjoy.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so many different blends and flavor profile combinations out there. I really agree. You can't paint yourself into a corner because you never know what that next cigar that you might try is gonna, whether or not that's gonna be the next one you take a look at and you're like, wow, damn, this is a great cigar.
Right.
And you don't want to cut yourself off from being able to have that experience by like locking yourself into something like this is my go-to smoke, and then never exploring the rest of what this world of premium tobacco has to offer.
Exactly. So, quick question. If you had a chance to sit down with anyone in the world and enjoy a cigar and good music and conversation, who would it be with? Anyone in the world, celebrity, somebody locally you might know, never had a chance to, somebody in the past, who would it be?
That's a tough question. Anybody in the past? I would say I would love
anybody. It can be anybody future, now somebody famous. There's anybody you would like to enjoy a conversation, maybe get a little game from, as far as finances, music, cigars, whatever. Who would it be with?
I I would have to say my first pick for that from like anybody in the past would be Teddy Roosevelt. The guy was an absolute man's man. He did a ton of incredible things in his career. A couple of things that I disagree with, but he was actually at a young age prescribed cigars by his doctor to cure his asthma. And he ended up being one of the most robust, energetic presidents that we have ever had. Just had a bunch of crazy perspectives, very, very worldly guy. I'd love to sit down and have a chat with him. And then as far as like living guys go, man, I think it would be really cool to sit down and have a cigar with somebody like Keith Richards. The guy he's the guitarist for the Rolling Stones. The guy is absolutely incredible musician. Being a part of a rock band like that, I'm sure he's got absolutely incredible stories. And I could just imagine like sitting down with him, smoking a cigar, just put it down in the ashtray, just strums a little bit on the guitar, and just the magic of listening to a master, just having that little bit of ambience that he adds to that. I think that would be incredible.
That's great. That's great. It's so funny you mentioned presidents because my person that I would like to enjoy a nice conversation would be President Barack Obama, only for the simple fact that I know he's a smoker. Mm-hmm. And it's something about just sitting down with Barack Obama that I, would enjoy talking to. I would ask him all kind of questions on his journey into becoming a president, the adversity he had to face while being the president for 8 years. I would also ask him more things about what's going on as far as the country, the politic wise, and what some stuff that he might not be able to disclose because it's classified. But I definitely would ask him exciting questions about what it is that he had to go through in adversity wise, as far as adversity wise.
He'd be an interesting guy to talk to for sure.
Oh yeah. Now, as far as music artists that I would want to sit down and smoke with, I would definitely have to say Jay-Z. Man, I would pick his brain. Yeah, I would. Man, I would definitely pick his brain. Man, I would pick his brain, and ask him all kind of questions about the music industry, the adversity he had to face when he was coming up. A lot of people, when he was going against and beefing with Nas, I would maybe sit down with both of them, and it'd be all three of us just sitting down talking about that era now, because they just recently came out with a song with DJ Khaled, and they were smoking cigars. So that in itself, I would definitely be sitting down with them and asking them about the cigars. Now Nas has his own. The rapper Nas has his own cigar. I think it's called Escobar. And I definitely want to chop it up with him because I know that he knows a little bit about his cigars, especially having his own cigar company or brand. So that would be interesting. I would probably ask him how he did it. So maybe one day that I can have my own cigar brand coming up in the game, because I know it's kind of hard to get into the cigar industry. Anybody can. You got to have a little money. And you got to know a lot of people are the right people to have those conversations with, as far as having your own cigar brand. So, yeah.
That takes a lot of work to establish a new cigar brand. A lot of startup capital. I've talked to a couple of guys that own their own cigar brands that are a little bit on the smaller side. And never once have I talked to anybody that regrets getting into the industry. But the biggest thing that we talk about is that it's not it's a labor of love. It's not the money making endeavor that is kind of associated with the luxury product that cigars are kind of positioned as. It really is something that a lot of these guys that are cigar makers, they absolutely love the tobacco. They love the culture of the industry. They love that it's one of those things where they can light a cigar, walk into any lounge in the country, and if they meet with other cigar smokers, they can sit down, they can have that conversation with them, and really have the opportunity to meet new people and just have great experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my biggest thing is this having is the impact. I'm not really more so focused on the income of the cigar realm. I'm more focused on building connections and making an impact with others, especially with musicians, tobacconists as yourself, because that's important. When you impact others and you show that you're passionate about something, everything else will fall in place.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So how are you enjoying your cigar? What third are you in?
I'm about halfway through it, and it's a fantastic cigar, man. I'm still getting some nice kind of mild chocolate notes to it. It's smooth. It's got a little bit of a creamy undertone. There's kind of a like a coffee with cream flavor profile note to it. It is an excellent cigar.
That's awesome. I'm about halfway as well. And I don't know, the flavor profile maybe changed a little bit, just a tad. I don't know why that is, but I'm definitely enjoying this cigar as well.
So I like to think there are two primary reasons that a flavor profile can shift in a cigar. The first is the blend of the cigar. The way they bunch and roll these leaves, sometimes the leaves can be stacked so that they are staggered from one portion of the cigar throughout the rest of them. So you have a little bit of a different blend as the cigar develops and smokes. And then other times for cigars that have a little bit more oils in them, what'll happen is you burn that cigar slowly. The oils will kind of warm up, release, and they start to cool back towards the end of the cigar. Which is why a lot of the times that last third of the cigar can make or break the cigar experience for somebody. Either it can really make the cigar rich, incredible, just make it the absolute best part of the cigar, or it can turn it into this incredibly strong, difficult to enjoy experience for some smokers that kind of overpowers them. It just puts them off because the flavor that they enjoy, its taste is subjective, really happens in that first 2/3 for them.
I see. That makes a lot of sense because the construction, like you said, has a lot to do with the way the blend is. I mean, the way they roll the cigar and the tobacco. I never really thought about how that worked, but I will say to you that that is that's right. That's a quite interesting subject because and I think it's meant to do on purpose as well, because maybe smoking something for an hour or an hour and a half maybe can be boring if you continue to taste the same kind of notes. So maybe they decided to roll it up a certain way and mix and blend the way they want to because of that. Real quick, this podcast, Music and Cigars, this podcast is sponsored by Music and Cigars. If you have a chance to go on your favorite podcasting site and check out this podcast, please listen. Please also visit musicandcigars.com and sign up for our subscription to know when the next episode will come out. Thank you. And real quick, is there anything that you wanted to add or say? Where can we find you online?
Yeah. So I'm most active on my Instagram profile. That's at calico.zach.malloy. www.cigars.n.whiskey. So Calico Zach Cigars and Whiskey. I do a lot of posting, like pairings, where typically the first thing that I do when I come in for the day at the shop here, so I'll grab a cigar out of the humidor. I'll pour myself a little bit of whiskey or maybe a cocktail or a beer, and I'll take a picture of that pairing. I encourage checking out those pairings. You see those pairings on there, comment, let me know what you think of them. Most active on my Instagram.
Okay, all right. Well, people, you heard him. Follow him on Instagram, Zach Malloy. You can actually visit his cigar lounge that he is currently at V-Cut Cigar Lounge in Nampa, Idaho. If you're ever in the area, please stop by and visit and ask for Zach Malloy, because as you can see, people, he has a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom about cigars. And it was a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I've learned so much from this conversation. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eddie.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. And everyone, we will be going live tomorrow. We'll have another special guest. His name is DJ Reek. So y'all tune in tomorrow at 7:00 p.m. Thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all enjoy and relax and sit back and enjoy y'all cigars. I hope y'all had to enjoy this podcast just as much as I did. And I'll see y'all soon. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Music and Cigar Podcast Show. Please visit musicandcigars.com to receive notifications on our next show, exclusive offers, share your thoughts of the show, or to also share the cigar that you like to smoke when you vibe in the music. Please follow us on all social media platforms at Music and Cigars. Until next time, brother and sister of the leaf, peace.